Hello, welcome again to Telusk Forum. We've got an interesting programme today. Mairwen explains how Messy Church will be holding special events during August for the children. Judy Roach tells us her life story. And then we get a glimpse behind the scenes as Simon Large tells us how he edits a Sunday service that's recorded. Then Dr. Carl talks to Julian about the benefits of learning at all stages in life. And finally, the Large family bring us a new song. During the programme, do look out for the lovely photographs that have been taken by April Games. During August, the Telusk team are going to take a well-earned break, so programmes will not be going out weekly through this month, but fortnightly. And we wish you well for the summer.
Hello there. Many of you will have seen this poster at the end of the service broadcast online last Sunday. It tells you about a special venture that the Messy Church team at Crickhowell are taking on for this August summer season. This year we haven't been able to do our usual holiday club, and as we were praying about how best to reach out during this lockdown period over the summer, we decided that we'd like to do a special Messy Church on each of the 5 Sundays in August. So we've chosen 5 themes, each one based on a different model of discipleship, people who are friends with Jesus. So we're starting on August the 2nd with Peter, and then subsequently on the following Sundays we'll have Martha and Mary, Philip, Paul and Timothy. So each Messy Church will have several activities and several videos which will appear on YouTube. There will be a story, there will be a craft activity, there will be a prayer space and a song, and some other jokes and photos and the usual sorts of things that we have in Holiday Club. So it's a bit of a mixture between Messy Church and Holiday Club. Now this is what we'd like you to do. We'd like you to share the posters with young families who you know. They might be people who live next door to you. They might be people, grandchildren, nieces and nephews who live a long way away from you. And we'd like you to share this poster, either using Facebook or online, emailing them, or maybe you could print one off and literally put it through the door and encourage people to watch it. When you've done that, we'd like you please to pray for this venture, because it's something that we've not really tried before. We're going to be using lots of YouTube clips, which we are going to be making ourselves, so we're going to be filming ourselves doing it. We're going to be including cartoons, action songs, etc. So there will be lots of different skills that we'll be trying to put together for the first time as well. So pray specially for this first one on August the 2nd. Just remember that this is a really important form of outreach. We usually do it through our holiday club and we reach out into the primary schools. This year we can't do that simply. We just can't be all together as a team with the children. So please use this opportunity to tell your family and friends and your neighbours all about this ministry and encourage them to watch and to tell us how they get on. And then carry on through the Sundays in August. Please look out for the posters and please share them as widely as you can. Thank you so much.
Hello. In case you don't know me, I'm Judy Roach and I worship at St Edmund's Church. And this is my story. I grew up in a good Christian family with parents and grandparents. I first accepted Christ as my friend and saviour when I was 7 years old at a children's mission in Ledbury, asking the Good Shepherd to pick me up as his lost sheep and carry me. Eventually, when I was 18, I decided that I wanted to do nursing, and I went to Bristol. And again, God's hand was on me because I met 3 Christian friends, and 60 years on, we're still friends, and we still talk regularly, and we're all still following our Christian faith. The next stage was when I married Barry, who some of you will know is a retired vicar, and we had nearly 40 years of ministry all over England, up and down the country, in all sorts of different churches. The one that we were longest at was Chatham in Kent for 14 years, where our 3 girls grew up and took on a faith for themselves, and still have friends there that they regularly communicate with. It was a busy time there, all sorts of things, rebuilding churches and planting churches, and I think we learned a lot through the good times and the hard times. Our last church was in East Anglia at Lowestoft, and that was where we got to the stage of retiring. And again, we had to say to God, what's your plan for the next bit of our life? Where do we go? Well, we both started off in Wales, and so my mother was in her 90s in a care home, so we thought we'd have a look at coming back to Wales after so many years, and we found a house in Bryn Mawr, and through friends and family we felt that God was leading us to join the fellowship at St Edmund's. And amazingly now it's 15 years on from that, and we've spent some really good times there. We've made lots of friends, we've helped with things, and we've learned a lot. The last bit of my story really is about the present day and this COVID-19 that has taken us all by surprise and given us all sorts of feelings of sadness, of fear, of anger. And how do we deal with this? How do we accept all the things that have happened to us? I think God wants us to talk to him about it, to pray, and Jesus wept and was angry when he was in the world. So I think it's quite all right to have these mixed up feelings of confusion. And as we're in Wales, why don't we say to God, come on, God, give me a cwtch. Thank you. That's my story.
Hello, and welcome to Simon's office for this Access All Areas behind the scenes look at how we put together the services for the online services on Sunday morning. So back in March, none of us had ever dreamed of doing half of this. James Besant showed us how we could transfer our regular morning worship services online. And since then, Simon has taught himself how to edit the services himself. So you can see on the screens behind me, I can see some pictures here of the last service that we did in Bryn Mawr a week or so ago. So maybe just to start, could you talk us through how this service works and how you actually edit it all together, please?
Yeah, let's have a look at the screen. This is the video editor, DaVinci Resolve, which both James and I are using. Here I have last Sunday's service loaded up. On the left here you can see the video clips which have been sent in by all our contributors. This middle window is the clip preview, so we can check what's in each clip. Along the bottom you can see the timeline, which shows all our video clips in sequence. This particular video is about 42 minutes long, and you can see the timescale on the ruler across the top. I'm going to zoom in a bit so we can see some more detail. This red line represents the playhead, which is the current point in the video, and you can see that in the window up on the top right. I'm going to move the playhead forward now to Mairwen's introduction. This blue section is the video, and the green below it is the audio, and you can see where she's speaking. This beige section is a text area, which I've used to show who's leading the service, and we use these for showing liturgy as well. Moving on, we have Jeremy introducing prayer spaces. Over here, Nikki is talking about prayer spaces, and we have a couple of pictures overlaid too. This is our first song. Most of them are recorded locally, either by Kay and Vaughan or by us, but this week we downloaded a ready-made video from Jubilate Music, and I can just drop that straight onto the timeline. King of Kings is one of the songs that Josh and Mairwen recorded. There's quite a bit of work in these. We have to record the audio and video separately, then sync them up, add the words and a background. Josh has done all that and given me a finished video, which again I can just drop in. So that's a whistle-stop tour of video editing. It's always the small details that take the time, trimming the clips, matching up all the audio levels, adding the liturgy text and editing things down to keep the timing tight. None of it's difficult, you just need to be patient and methodical.
Thank you. I always find it really interesting to look at how that all happens. So, question, is it easier when you're actually filming the services at home, or do you prefer to do other people's services?
This is a loaded question, isn't it?
It is.
In some ways it's easier because everyone's here, we can film at any time. And in other ways it's more pressured because we take advantage of that and we wait until the sermons come in and we respond to events during the week. And so we tend to film on the Saturday morning, and then I have the rest of Saturday to put it all together. So it can go up to the wire a bit.
Right, so how long does it take you?
When I first started, it was taking 8 to 10 hours, and that's come down quite a bit now.
Oh my gosh.
It's probably down to about 6 hours now to do the editing. And then you've got to upload it, which is another slow process, but I don't have to sit and watch it doing that.
No. So, a lot of work. Is it worthwhile? How many people are actually watching these services? Do you know?
It's difficult to know for sure. We use YouTube to upload all our videos, and they have very good analytics, but the problem with that is that the headline number you see, the number of views, also includes people who just click on it and then move straight on to something else. And somebody called Bob Jackson has produced a resource called Everybody Welcome Online. Mm-hmm. And part of that is involved him analysing how many people are actually watching services and looking at the statistics. And so using the methods that he suggested, I think we've probably had about 60 people watching the premiere of that Brumal service.
Right.
And maybe 100 people overall, because some people watch it after the event, during the week or whenever's convenient for them.
And of course there's people all over the place who are actually accessing these services. I know my mum watches it regularly from Cardiff, and there are people in Australia and South Africa and goodness knows where else all around the world who are actually following these services regularly. So well worth the effort. Now Simon, Rana talks about church without walls. How do you think the future of the church might look once we come out of lockdown proper?
Who knows when we're going to come out of lockdown, but we're going to carry on with the online services at least until the end of September. Uh-huh. And they may go on for some time after that. We're starting to have services back in churches now, but they are very limited. There'll be no singing and people can't get close together. So it really lacks the social element that we're all used to.
And it's that building of community which is so important, isn't it?
It is.
Being together is really important. And if you can't touch nor share a cup of tea together, then we know how miserable that is. So it sounds that you have a lot of work lined up in the long term. And you've already picked up quite a lot of skills in the last 4 months. What opportunities are there for other people to get involved now?
Well, a number of people have expressed an interest already, and there is a good training video to go with the DaVinci Resolve editor. I've also put together some notes on our website on how to do this editing.
Good. So you taught yourself totally from the training. Right. So it's fairly straightforward if you've got a decent computer. Yes.
Yes, indeed. You just have to be patient and prepared to have a go at it.
Right. Practice makes perfect. Well, Thank you very much for sharing with us, and thank you for all that you do behind the scenes. And thanks to James, of course, as well, who taught us so much in the first place. So do keep on tuning in, and do keep on giving us your feedback on what you enjoy in these services as well.
Well, welcome, Carl, to the programme. It's good to have you with us again. And what topic are you covering today?
Well, we're going to look at the benefits of learning new skills. We looked at keeping your social networks and your relationships in good health. And we've also looked at the importance of physical exercise, both for your body and for your mind. But today I wanted to look at the benefits of learning, because people may not realize that if you learn new skills and you develop yourself in that way, it builds your mental resilience, and it lifts your spirits when you're low, and it prevents you from drifting into depression.
Well, Carl, that's all very well, but how does learning help us? It sometimes seems a bit stressful to take on new challenges.
Yes, it can do, but if you think about it, we all know how we can get a warm sense of satisfaction, a sort of warm glow, when we've mastered something, when we've produced something ourselves, or when we've done something unaided for the first time. And not only do we get that warm glow when we've done it, but also when we talk about it to our friends, or when we think about it later on, that warm glow comes back. And perhaps if we think about it like that, then we can see that if we get lots of these little warm glow feelings in our life, it can freshen the emotional atmosphere, and it can make us feel better about ourselves, more positive about ourselves. And that can be really beneficial for our mental health.
Okay, so what sort of things are we talking about? Courses or formal learning, which really seem like hard work to me.
Yeah, no, I think that's biting off quite a lot, isn't it? But no, we're thinking more about small things we perhaps do and don't notice, but which we could make more of. And we can begin by picking off the low-hanging fruit. And by that, I mean, we could return to things which we've done in the past, hobbies or interests that we've had in the past, that we can pick up again and maybe develop. So I'm thinking about things that we've got skills for, maybe we've got equipment for it, and we've enjoyed it in the past. Things like doing jigsaws or playing board games, things that we used to enjoy, but that we can pick up again. I really enjoy board games, and during the lockdown, when we can't meet people, I've had to develop the skill of playing them online. My nephew knows how to do this. He loves board games as well. And so he's taught me, and I've taught Sally, and now we've taught nephews and nieces. And so not only have we had the joy of doing board games, but also we've had the social connections that have come with it. And we've played board games that we knew, and also we've learned some new board games. So all those things feed in. But another thing, maybe you played the musical instrument, or you've done a foreign language, or you used to cook bread, or all sorts of things that we used to do that we don't do anymore, but we could pick up again and get that sort of warm glow feeling when we've done something or made something new.
Well, Carl, that doesn't sound so bad after all. I quite like board games myself. I suppose these days we're all having to think about new skills, whether we like it or not.
Yes, I think all of us have had to learn how to use our computers or our mobile phones in completely new ways. I mean, before lockdown, I'd never done a Zoom meeting. And, now I'm doing Zoom meetings all the time. And I have Zoom coffee in church on a Sunday. And next Sunday, I'm preaching in a Zoom service. And one of my friends from India is going to come along to that service with me. And last Sunday, we not only listened to the service at Llangeni, but we also tuned in to the Hindi service in Hyderabad because the preacher was in English. And all those are skills which we've developed because we've had to, because of the lockdown situation. And I think many of us are in that position. We can pat ourselves on the back because we've had to learn these new skills. And as we learn one, so we can go on to learn another. It's not easy to learn these new tricks when we're old dogs. But, you know, when we have to struggle and when things are quite difficult and frustrating, the sense of satisfaction can be even greater. And so sometimes, you know, it's worthwhile persevering to get an even better glow afterwards. And then also, it's good to have a positive attitude. If we approach the struggle and the frustration of learning these new skills, which are forced on us, in a negative way, then that can drag us down. Whereas if we, you know, look upon them as a positive thing, then that can lift us up. And yes, we may be old dogs, but of course that means we know lots of tricks and we can bring those out and maybe use them to our advantage. And finally, on this business of being forced to learn things, it gives us an opportunity to ask for help. Because we're all in the same boat now. We're all having to learn these skills. And we can help each other. And that goes back to the building social relationships, you know, that we talked about in previous sessions.
Thanks, Carl. Have you heard of other people who are taking up new challenges during this COVID lockdown?
Yeah, indeed, I have. My mum has started knitting again, which she'd given up. And I was speaking to Jill Madley. Many people will remember Jill. And she told me that she was using her sewing skills to make face masks. And they were selling them, or they weren't selling them, they were giving them away in her local shop. She'd made over 200 of the face masks and raised £100 for the local food bank. And that gave her a lot of satisfaction. And myself, I've played my trumpet again. I haven't done that for a long time, not since I was a teenager. And that's been really enjoyable. We can't sing hymns, but now I can play them in the afternoon. And then totally new things. Our garden has yielded gooseberries, and I hate gooseberries. I don't really like gooseberries as a fruit. But this year I picked them and made them into jam. And now I'm going to make a chutney, and Jill suggested that I make gooseberry curd, and I've had lots of discussions about that. So that's quite helpful, because you find when you take up a new hobby and an interest and you talk to people, it builds a little community. You find there are other people interested in the same things. And then another thing that I've done is I decided to grow herbs. You know, I've wanted to grow herbs in the garden and in the house. My niece talked about growing mint. I bought some from the supermarket and some coriander and some thyme, and now they're growing in our porch, and I'm drying them in the garage. So one hobby can lead on to another hobby and a deeper interest, and you're learning new things all the time. And one final thing, when I told my parents about picking the gooseberries, they talked about brambleberries. And in the conversation, I said, oh, why don't you pick me some brambleberries? And now, on their walk every day, they pick brambleberries, blackberries. And so my dad is stretching to get the high ones, and my mum is bending to get the low ones. And they're interacting with other people on the walk, socially distanced, of course. And so a simple hobby has turned into a better exercise session for them and more social interaction for them as well. So learning is a multifaceted way of benefiting yourself.
Well, it's good for us to learn new skills, but do you think it can be good for others too?
Yeah, definitely. And we can really benefit from forming little communities around our hobbies and interests and teaching one another. You don't have to be an expert to pass your knowledge on to somebody else. And, we've all had that experience of learning with another person, and then you share in their joys when they achieve something for the first time. And also when, you're able to impart knowledge to them, that gives you a little bit of an extra boost that you've been able to sort of lift them up a little bit further. I mean, we've all benefited from Simon and David sharing their computer expertise with us, but you don't have to be professionals and experts to be able to help someone else who's a little bit behind you to catch up and to catch on. And it may be one of the things that we can think about as a church community or as a Telusk forum, how we can help each other with our hobbies and interests. If people want to learn something, they can tell us, and then maybe someone can lend them a helping hand, and that will sort of really build our community feel, and we'll be able to support each other in these days.
Darkness, we were waiting without hope, without light, till from heaven you came running. There was mercy in your eyes to fulfill the law and prophets. To a virgin came the word, from a throne of endless glory to a cradle in the dirt. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. The kingdom coming, and to reconcile the lost, to redeem the whole creation. You did not despise the cross, for even in your suffering you saw to the other side, knowing this was your salvation. Jesus, for our sake you died. Till that stone was moved for good, for the Lamb had conquered death, and the dead rose from their tombs.